of Vyasdev, Nishamya, hearing Shaddadhanasya of his disciple who was so faithful in understanding the truth, Pratinandaya, congratulating, Vacha, words, Abravit, spoke. Translation by Jivangi Sisi Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. Shri Sutta Goswami said, after hearing Maharaj Parishit's very intelligent question, Sukdev Goswami, the most powerful sage, began answering his disciple with great affection. So today we are also to cover verse number 9 and 10. So I'll just recite the verse number 9 and 10 with their translations and purport, and then we'll go forward. Shishukuvacha. Uh, yeah. शृणुवा व्यवहितो राजन् इतिहासम् इमं यथा श्रुतं द्वैपायनं मुखं नारदात् देवलादपि. So see translation. Shri Sukdev Goswami said, O king, I shall speak to you the same history I have heard from the mouths of Vyasdev, Narada and Devala. Please listen with attention. And verse number 10. Asit Raja Sarvabhauma Suraseniushu Vai Nipa Chitraketuriti Khyato Yatsyasit Kamadunmahi. So Asit, there was Raja, one king, Sarvabhauma, an emperor of the entire surface of the globe, Surasenesu, in the country known as Surasena. Why indeed? Nipa, a king, Chittaketu, it is thus, Khyata, celebrated, Yasya, of whom, Asit was, Kamaduk, supplying all the necessities, Mahi, the translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Srila Prabhupada. O King Parishit, in the province of Surasena, there was a king named Chittaketu who ruled the entire earth. During his reign, the earth produced all the necessities of for life. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Srila Prabhupada. Here, the most significant statement is that the earth completely produced all the necessities of life during the time of King Chitraketu. As stated in the Ishopanishad, Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatam jagat tena taktena bhunjita magrida kasya siddhanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside for as his quota, and one should not accept other things knowing well to whom they belong. Krishna, the supreme controller, has created the material world which is completely perfect and free from scarcity. The Lord supplies the necessities of all living entities. These necessities come from the earth, and thus the earth is a source of supply. When there is a good ruler, thus that source produces the necessities of life abundantly. However, when there is not such a good ruler, there will be scarcity. This is the significance of the word Kamadhuk. Elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, verse 4, it is said, Kamam Varsha Parjanya Sarva Kama Dhugamahi. During the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthir, the clouds stored all the water that people needed, and the earth produced all necessities of man in profusion. We have experienced that in some seasons the rains produce abundance, and in other seasons there is scarcity. We have no control over the earth's productiveness, for it is naturally under the full control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By His order, the Lord can make the earth produce sufficiently or insufficiently. If a pious king rules the earth according to the Shastric injunctions, there will naturally be regular rainfall and sufficient produce to provide for all men. There will be no question of exploitation, for everyone will have enough. Black marketing and other corrupt dealings, they will then automatically stop. Simply ruling the land cannot solve man's problems unless the leader has spiritual capabilities. He must be like Maharaj Yudhishthir. Maharaj Parikshit Maharaj or Ramchandra, then all the inhabitants of the land will be extremely happy. ॐ अज्ञानतिनन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं सागजातं सागररघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादां सहललिता श्रीविशाखावितं च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So, in the purport, we saw how kings ruled responsibly, and because of that, earth supplied all its necessities. So, we'll see Prabhupada purports in different cantos regarding the rulings of different kings, the how responsibly they ruled, and then we'll specifically see one of the examples of Yudhishthira Maharaj, how he ruled, and further, if time permits, something which the king which did not rule properly, and last but not the least, we'll read something about the holy name at the last. So, in Canto 3, chapter 21, purport, Prabhupada says the king or the executive head of the state, the father and the school teacher are all considered to be natural leaders of the innocent public in general. All such natural leaders have a great responsibility to their dependents. Therefore, they must be conversant with the standard books of moral and spiritual codes. So, this is what the king should be, and therefore, we see the Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge was given by Krishna to the sun god because he was considered to be the Kshatriya dynasty, and then from there, the Kshatriya dynasty came. So, in Canto 1, Chapter 8, verse number 48, purport Prabhupada says, a solid phalanx of 21,870 chariots, 21,870 elephants, 1,09,650 infantry, and 65,600 cavalry is called an Akshoni, and many Akshoni were killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Maharaj Yudhishthir, as the most pious king of the world, takes for himself the responsibility for killing such a huge number of living beings because the battle was fought to reinstate him on the throne. This body is, after all, meant for others. While there is life in the body, it is meant for the service of others. And when it is dead, it is meant to be eaten by dogs and jackals of maggots. Is sorry because for such a temporary body, such a huge massacre was committed. So the king Yudhishthira was so responsible, uh, and he considered himself responsible for such a massacre, even though we know that he was personally not responsible. So he was a Raj Rishi sent amongst kings. And further, in Canto 12, it's described how he quits to departure. Because if we see, uh, he ruled only for around 35, 36 years somewhere after becoming a king. And after that, when Krishna left, so he also left the kingdom and everything. So Maharaj Yudhishthir, while quitting the palace for his great departure to the Himalayas, entrusted Kripacharya with Maharaj Parikshit as his disciple and left his home satisfied because of Kripacharya's taking charge of Maharaj Parikshit. The great administrators, king and emperors were always under the guidance of learned Brahmanas like Kripacharya, and thus were able to act properly in the discharge of political responsibilities. So another quality of kings taking shelter of Brahmanas is being shown here. And second is how they rule the kingdom and leave the kingdom when it's required. So if we see whole Bhagavatam, these two questions, how to live and how to live. LIV live and LEAV leave the world. So these two things are prominent. And Maharaj Yudhishthir sets a right example. So he leaves the kingdom while he is in position where the citizens love him very much. Not the time when the citizens want to throw a person. Like in modern situation, we see that in current situations, citizens want to throw the person, but the person does not want to leave the seat. But here, if you see the ideal ruler, he quits the palace for his great departure and to the Himalayas. That means, in the end, if somebody goes to a place where is unknown, so nobody will know how he leaves the body also. So in more recent times, we don't do such, but in the previous times, people used to go to Himalayas in the north, so their whereabouts were not known to other peoples. And King Yudhishthira Maharaj was such a pious king and was a famous king. Still, he chose to be going to the north, and there he would be not known for others. So, such a way, after leaving the kingdom, they would go to the north. Again, same further it is written. Maharaj Yudhishthir was the ideal and celebrated pious king of the world, and still he was greatly afraid after the execution of the battle of Kurukshetra because of his mass killing in the fight, all of which was done only to install him on the throne. He therefore took all responsibility for sins committed for the welfare, and uh, to get rid of all these sins, he wanted to perform three sacrifices in which horses are offered to the altar. So after taking responsibility and before departure, he also did three sacrifices. So which is important. So one may regret for his wrongdoings, but the another thing is, does it do some atonement so that his sins are eradicated? Here, if we see, Yudhishthira not only regretted for the wrongdoings which he did not do, he took the blame, and afterwards to rectify, he did a righteous sacrifice. And last purport we saw how he left the kingdom. So he was an ideal king in that respect, and therefore, uh, here further Prabhupada says an ideal king thoroughly trained by culture and devotional service with martial spirit makes a perfect king. Such a personal monarchy is far better than so-called democracy of no training and responsibility. So Prabhupada glorifies here that how uh, the king was far better than today's democratic thing where there is no training and people are not responsible. Further, Prabhupada says the so called Democrats capture the administrative machine without assuming responsibility for prosperous condition of the citizens. Everyone captures the post for personal gratification, and thus, instead of one king, a number of irresponsible kings grow up to tax the citizens. So, here also, we have seen Prabhupada speaks here how the king taxes the citizens but does not reciprocate. So example is giving of the sun, how sun evaporates the water like taking the taxes, but when the time comes in the time of need, it gives water in the form of clouds, and this is the proper way of reciprocation. And then further Prabhupada speaks about Maharaj Khatwanga. So in Canto 2, Chapter 1, Prabhupada 13, Prabhupada speaks, human life is meant for preparing ourselves for that prime duty. Maharaj Khatwanga is mentioned herein as a saintly king because even within the responsibility of the state management, he was not at all forgetful of his prime duty of life. Such was the case with other Rajashis, saintly kings like Maharaj Yudhishthira and Maharaj Parishit. They were all exemplary personalities on account of their being alert in discharging their prime duty. So not only these kings were responsible for others, but they, by their own example, had shown to others what was their prime duty. And Maharaj Katwanga is an example where he had very less time at the last moment of his time, and he that time uh, he perfected his life by concentrating on Supreme Personality of Godhead. So again, Prabhupada speaks about Maharaj Pratap Rudra in the purport in Canto 2, verse 3, verse number 21. The common man, if he has no time to worship the Lord, maybe least engages ends for few seconds in washing or sweeping the Lord's temple. Maharaj Prataprudra was greatly powerful king of Orissa, was always very busy with heavy state responsibilities. Yet he made it a point to sweep the temple of Lord Jagannath at Puri once a year during the festival of the Lord. The idea is that however important a man one may be, he must accept the supremacy of Supreme Lord. So here another aspect is shown how in a busy time when somebody has so much responsibility and one is very busy, he can take few seconds to worship the Lord or engage his hands in washing or sleeping. And the example is of Maharaj Pratap Rudra, how he was very busy. But during the Rath Yatra time, he used to come and sweep the road for the Lord to come. And therefore, no person in this world can say that he's so busy that he cannot spare some time for the Lord. So this is being brought out by Srila Prabhupada here. Then further in Canto 3, verse 13, Canto 3, chapter 13, verse 12, purport, Prabhupada says, the whole administrative system is arranged for the purpose of going back home, back to Godhead. Brahma is a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Manu is a representative of Brahma. Similarly, all other kings on different planets of the universe are representative of Manu. The law book for the entire human society is the Manu Samhita, which directs all activities towards the transcendental service of the Lord. Every king, therefore, must know that his responsibility in administration is not merely to extract taxes from citizens, but to see personally that the citizens under him are being trained in Vishnu worship. So last we saw that how kings were themselves doing, and here this purport Prabhupada is saying how they should make provisions so that citizens get an opportunity to worship Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in this way, they are progressively engaged towards their destination in life. So here, uh, the whole goal is set that everybody should go back home, back to Godhead. And for that purpose, the different kings on the planet are doing their part in giving the citizens an opportunity to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead and even training them in that worship. So this is a way how saintly kings ruled. Then again in Canto 4, uh, chapter 19, verse 30 purport, Prabhupada says, Lord Brahma addresses King Prithu as Prajapati just to remind him of his great responsibility in maintaining the peace and prosperity of citizens. Maharaj Prithu was empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead for this purpose only. It is duty of the ideal king to see that people are properly executing religious principles. Lord Brahma specially requested King Prithu to conquer the pseudo-religious principles produced by King Indra. In other words, it is a duty of the state or king to put a stop to pseudo-religion systems produced by unselfless person. So one is to direct them in the proper worship of Vishnu. Another duty of the king is to stop irreligious, unauthorized people following the religious principles which are not proper. So here, if we see uh, that Prithu Maharaj was performing in yajna and Indra was very much disturbed by Prithu Maharaj for that doing that yagya, and he was coming in the face of different sannyasis and so many to take the horse back. And then because Prithu Maharaj wanted to do 100 yagya, at that time Lord Brahma comes and says that why you want to do this 100 yagya? Anyways, you are very prosperous, and the purpose of this yagya is to please Supreme Personality of Godhead, to make your kingdom prosperous. So why don't you leave this? Because of you, Indra is taking form of so many sannyasis, and in future this pseudo religion will come up. So better you stop. And therefore, here Prabhupada says that how Prithu was responsible so that other pseudo religions not come up. So this is also one of the aspect which the king has to look on. Not only to give proper direction, but to see that if there are upstarts which are not following proper dharma, then the king is responsible to stop them. And because of that, what happened is Lord Vishnu comes and to give darshan to Prithu Maharaj. And there in Canto 4, 20, chapter verse 14, uh, another purport of Prabhupada says, Lord Vishnu advised Prithu Maharaj that the king is not enjoined to give up his kingdom and the responsibility of protecting the prajas or citizens to instead go away to the Himalayas for liberation. He can attain liberation while executing his royal duties. The royal duty or the duty of the head of the state is to see that the prajas or the general mass of people are doing their respective duties for spiritual salvation. So again, here Prabhupada says that sometimes the king may have to give up their cause of going to Himalayas for liberation and take care of citizens. And here, this is a case where uh, Vishnu is advising Prithu Maharaj that do not give up kingdom, but rule so that the prajas are liberated. And further, Prabhupada says it is the duty of the king to give all living entities protection and food. The fools and rascals of modern society have no knowledge of the extent of the responsibility of the government. So today's government actually do not take the responsibility, but only take taxes. How a king or leader of society can become the representative of Supreme Personality Godhead is also indicated in this verse by statement that because Prithu Maharaj was preaching the supremacy and the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, he was therefore a proper representative of the Lord. To remain under the jurisdiction or administration of such a king or leader is a perfect status for human society. The primary responsibility of such a king or leader is to protect the Brahminical culture and the cows in his state. So another thing which is told is to um, protect Brahminical culture and the cows, which Prabhupada speaks in so many of his purports, which is shown here. And here, if we see Prabhupada, the Prithu Maharaj is preaching to the people, citizens in general, and giving them instructions on how to go back to Godhead. And Prabhupada is glorifying here in his purport that how he's doing his duty. And further, Prabhupada is saying in chapter 20, verse 89 purport about four ashramas and four varnas, how they are important. It is responsible to the royal order to see that the citizens were following the regulative principles of four varnas, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and the ashramas, namely Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. It is very difficult to rule citizens in a kingdom without organizing this Varnashrama Dharma. To rule the mass of citizens in a state and keep them in a complete progressive order is not possible simply by passing laws every year in the legislative assembly. The Varnashram Dharma is essentially a good government. So another aspect of governing citizens through Varnashrama system is being described here. How the four Varnas and four Ashramas are very important for us so that we may grow in our spiritual life is being told here by Srila Prabhupada. Then further, uh, uh, in Canto 5, chapter 1, verse 12, Priyavat Maharaj comes, and here there's a twist. Generally, uh, the kings used to take first rule the kingdom and then go to Vanprastha. But if we see, Manu had two sons, King Priyavat and King Uttanpad. And Priyavat directly went to the forest to perform austerities, and he did not want to accept the kingdom, and therefore King Uttanpad was made the king. So here a situation comes when all the descendants of King Uttanpad are gone, and now there is no one to rule the kingdom. And therefore Priyavat Maharaj is being called to rule the kingdom. And here comes a problem because uh, Narad Muni told him to execute life as a renunciant, and Brahmaji is telling him to take the kingdom. And there is a discrepancy, or there is a natural some problem whom to follow. And very amicably, both authorities, Brahmaji and Narad Muni, concluded Priyavat Maharaj should take the kingdom. So Prabhupada writes that Priyavat might argue that Lord Brahma was requesting him to accept family life and the responsibility for ruling a kingdom. Although Narad Muni had advised him not to enter household life and be entangled in material affairs, whom to accept would be a puzzle for Privat, because both Lord Brahma and Narad Muni are authorities. Under circumstances, the use of the word Manishaya is very appropriate, for it indicates that since both Narada Muni and Lord Brahma are authorized to give instructions, Privat should neglect neither of them but should use intelligence to follow the advice of both. So, in the time when there is a two authorities, how the king is acting is being shown here by King Privat Maharaj by taking care of both the instructions and then taking care of the ruling of the kingdom. So another then comes in Canto 6, chapter 4 and 11, the Prachetas, how they rule. And here another aspect of ruling the kingdom which comes of taking care of other living entities. Till now we saw how the prajas, that is human beings, are taken care of. But here, uh, how other living entities should be taken care of is being shown. The exalted royal families were conscious that all living beings, whether human, animal, or lower than animal, should be given protection. The modern democratic system cannot be exalted in this way because the leaders elected strive only for power and have no sense of responsibility. In the monarchy, a king with prestigious position follows the great deeds of his forefathers. Thus, Soma, the king of the moon, here reminds the Pachetas about the glories of their forefather, grandfather, and the grand grandfathers. So, here Prachetas are being told that the trees are also the living entities and they should protect trees and they should not unnecessarily destroy them. So, this is also the responsibility of the kings to protect other living entities, including the trees. And further, in Canto 9, the character of Amrish Maharaj is shown, and Prabhupada in one purport writes, my Amrish was undoubtedly liberated in any condition, but an ideal king must be and fully concentrated on the lotus feet of Vasudev. Therefore, Maharaj Amrisha divided the kingdom among his sons and retired from family life. So again, here the character of Amrish Maharaj being shown, how he retired and then divided his family so that the kingdom is being taken care of by further future generations and the citizens are also taken care. So further, we see in another book of Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada writes about King Mayurdhwaj. There is evidence in Padma Puran in the Kashi Khanda portion where it is said in the country known as Mayurdhwaja, the lower caste uh, people who were considered less than Shudras all were also initiated in the Vaishnava cult of devotion service. And when they are properly dressed with tilaka on their bodies and beads on their heads, in their hands and on their necks, they appear to be coming from Vaikuntha. In fact, they look so very beautifully that immediately they surpass the ordinary Brahmanas. So here, Prabhupada says how the lower caste people, Sri, Vaishya, Shudra and others, uh, they also can be liberated if the king is proper and can execute religious duties for them also. So this has also been shown here. And further, there are different verses and been shown here. But we'll go to the next part because it's already 8:40. So we'll go to the next part of what is the effect of the if the king rules according to the dictates of the scriptures on based on godly civilization. So we had saw one verse in the purport. So let us see Yudhishthira's kingdom. What was the rule and how the citizens were happy. So in Canto 1, verse 10, chapter 10, verse 4, it comes. The verse says, Kamam varsha parjanya sarva kama dugdamahi sisishu sma varjan gavah payasho dhavastir muda. So during the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthir, the clouds showed all the water that people needed, and the earth produced all necessities of man in profusion. Due to his fatty milk bag and cheerful attitude, the cow used to moisten the grazing ground with milk. So if we see the effects of the king, if he is ruling according to the shastras, according to religion, according to the conduct which is authorized by Lord. So what happens is the cloud showed all the rain that people need, and therefore uh, all the necessities of the men are produced in profusion. So Prabhupada writes in purport, during the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthir, all over the world there were regulated rainfalls. When the Lord is obeyed by the king and the people under the king's administration, there are regulated rains from the horizon, and these rains are the causes of all varieties of production on the land. So there will be no scarcity of food grains if the king ruled the kingdom very nicely. And not only do regulated rains help ample production of grains and fruits, but when they combine with astronomical influences, there's ample production of valuable stones and pearls. So, but just by doing bhakti and obeying the orders of the Lord, not only we can get ample production of food grains, but also ample production of valuable stones and pearls, for which today we need to dug land and go to so much deep to get some gold or some pearls that can be found very easily if one is properly following the authority of the Lord. Then further says Nadya Samudra Giraya Sa Vanaspati Viruddha Palanti Ausada Sarva Kamam Nivritta Tasya Vai. The rivers, oceans, hills, mountains, forests, creepers, and active drugs in every season paid their tax quota to the king in profusion. So everyone, including the rivers, hill, mountains, take paid their tax quota. This is very unheard of. That even such they can also pay their tax quota in profusion, means they were giving all the thing whichever they had to all the citizens. Since Maharaj Yudhishthira was under the protection of Ajita, the invincible Lord, as above mentioned, the property of the Lord, namely the rivers, oceans, hills, forests, etc., were all pleased and they used to supply their respective quota of taxes to the king. The secret to success is to take refuge under the protection of the Supreme Lord. Without his sanction, nothing can be possible. So, this is the secret to success. Take refuge to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and everything will be successful. Further, Nadayo नादयो व्यवदात क्लेश दैव भूतानाम हेतव अजात शत्रु भवन जंतु नाम rajani karhichit. Because of the kings having no enemy, the living beings were not at any time being disturbed by mental agonies, diseases, or excessive heat or cold. So, not only the citizens were peaceful, not only the nature was helping, but there were no mental agonies, diseases, or excessive heat or cold, which we are experiencing nowadays very often. There's excessive heat or cold, or in the seasons of cold, there's heat. In the season of heat, there's sometimes cold. In the season of cold or heat, there are rains, and there are so much disturbances. And people are so much mentally disturbed today, which was not there. So, Prabhupada writes in purports, at the time of Maharaj Yudhishthir, there were no different nations, although there were different subordinate states. The whole world was united, and the supreme head, being a trained king like Yudhishthir, kept all the inhabitants free from anxiety, disease, and excessive heat and cold. They were not only economically well to do, but also physically fit and undisturbed by supernatural power, by enmity from other living beings, and by disturbance of bodily and mental agonies. So, if people worship Lord and they are in proper consciousness, then even they will not face mental disturbances, disturbance from nature, or any other disturbances from anybody. Therefore, this is the way when good kingdom comes. And what happens if such a king is being unnecessarily punished? We see in the episode of Parikshit Maharaj. So here, Shamik Rishi, the father of Shingi, tells this, "Oh my boy, your intelligence is immature, and therefore you have no knowledge of the king, who is the best among the human beings. Is good as personality of Godhead. And uh, in his state, the citizens of the state live in prosperity, being protected by his unsuppressed powers. And when this regime is abolished, the whole world becomes filled with thieves who then at once vanquish the unprotected subjects like scattered lambs." So when such king are being removed, then what happens is there is the whole world, there is a chaos. And what happens further is said, due to the termination of the monarchical regimes and the plundering of the people wealth by rogues and thieves, there will be great social disruptions. People will be killed and injured, and animals and women will be stolen. And all this, for the sins, we shall be responsible. At that time, the people in general will fall systematically from the path of progressive civilization in respect of the quality engagements of the caste and the orders of society and the Vedic injunctions. Thus, they will be more attracted to economic development for sense gratification, and as a result, there will be unwanted population on the level of dogs and monkeys. So Prabhupada writes, a degraded civilization of sense gratification and economic development is the byproduct of a godless and kingless government of the people, by the people, and for the people. The people should not therefore begrudge the poor admission they themselves elect. So these are the things which happen when there is no such things. And further, there are so many examples of so many kings which have ruled the kingdom very nicely. We see Bali Maharaj, Nimi, Mandata, Prahlad Maharaj, Bhagirat, Bharat Maharaj, Rishabdev, Anga, Gaya, Indra Maharaj, King Puru, Nabi, Sagar Maharaj, Yati, Yadu, Yamraj. And we see some other kings like Vena and all, and they are discussed very elaborately in the Bhagavatam, uh, which we don't have so much time now to discuss. But then uh, now we all saw how king ruled piously and what are the effects of something. And this is done when the old kings are being ruled in a way where there is a godly kingdom. And we see one of the great kings, King Kulushakhar Maharaj, in his prayers, how he glorifies the names of the Lord and how he takes the names of the Lord. So we'll just speak some about that. So in Mukundmala Stotra, King Kulushekhar Maharaj speaks, Shri Vallabheti Bharateti Daya Pareti Bhakt Priyeti Bhavalundana Kovideti Nateti Nagashayaneti Jagannivaseti Alapinam pratidinam kuru mam mukundam. So King Kulusaka Maharaj says, O Mukunda, O Lord, please let me become a constant reciter of your names, addressing you as Shri Vallabha. So Shri Vallabha means one who's dear to the law Lakshmi Devi. Then Varada. Varada means one who gives benedictions. So in this world, somebody gives benedictions because of some cause. But Krishna gives benedictions without any cause, and therefore he is called as Dayapara. Dayapara is one who is um, causelessly merciful. There is no cause for his mercy, but his mercy flows without any cause, and therefore he himself comes, he sends his representatives to reclaim the fallen souls. And then he is called as Bhakta Priya, that he who is very dear to his devotees. So Lord is very dear to his, and devotees are very dear to the Lord. And because of this, because devotees are very dear to Lord, so what does the Lord do? Bhavaluntana Kovideti. He is expert at plundering the status quo of uh, repeated birth and death in this material world. So he removes our cycle of birth and death from this world, and therefore he is called as Natha. Because after removing from here, he puts us in the under his shelter in the spiritual world. So one who doesn't have any Nath is called Anath. But here, because he's Nath, because we have somebody to take care, he's called as Nath, and he also known as Jagannath. And the entire world is under him, and therefore is called as Jagan Nivasa, and the resort of the cosmos, and the whole thing lives under him. And therefore, what does he do? He lies on the serpent of bed, and therefore is called as Nagashena. So, uh, let us recite his names. Who is? Let me recite his name, constant name, his names. Who is Shri Vallabha? Who is Varada? Who is Dayapara? Who is Bhakta Priya? Who is Bhava Priya? Kuntana Lovide, Payaluntana Kovidite, and who is Natha and who is Jagan Nivasa. And he is called by different names depending on different devotees and different things his role. So here Kulchakrama is saying, Jaitu Devo, Devaki Nandanayam, Jaitu Krishna Vishnu Vamshi Pradeepa, Jaitu Mega Shamala Kombalanga, Jaitu Prithvi Bhara, Nasha Mukunda. So he is known as the son of Devaki. So all glories to Lord Krishna. And he is in the Vrishni dynasty, who has come in the Vrishni dynasty, and whose body is very soft, resembles like the blackish color of new cloud. And all glories to Mukunda, who removes the burden of burden of this earth. So he has come to remove the burden of his earth. And uh, we recite his name constantly, again and again. And one may think that why one should recite his name. So here Kulshekara says, Nayam vande tava charanayor dvanda advanda hetu kumbhipakam gurumapi hare narikam napanetum ramya rama mridutanu nandane napirantum भवे भवे हृदय भवने भावयेयं भवन्तं. O Lord Hari, it is not to be saved from the dualities of the material existence or the grim tribulations of the Kumbhika hell that I pray to lotus feet, nor is my purpose to enjoy the soft skinned, beautiful women who reside in the gardens of heaven. I pray to your lotus feet only so that I may remember you alone in the core of my heart, birth after birth. So King Kulushekhar Maharaj only wants to remember um, the Lord in his heart, birth after birth, so that one may go back to Godhead. And for this, very easy method is to chant his holy names. And therefore, there's one affirmation which I will just read and end with the class with it. I chant in full awareness that the holy name is my greatest treasure. So, this holy name the name of Krishna is our greatest treasure. So this is similar to the last affirmation. The idea is that this is a verse from Harinam Chintamani. The holy name is the greatest jewel in the Lord's treasury. It's the greatest jewel because the holy name awakens our love for Krishna, and to have a relationship with us is one of the Krishna's cherished and unfulfilled desires. Although he has everything, he does not have our heart and he hankers for it. And since the Maha Mantra will cause us to give our hearts to Krishna, we will get from us what he wants most. So this is why the Maha Mantra is the most valuable gem in his treasury. It is our it is also our most cherished asset because there is nothing more valuable for us than our relationship with Krishna. And we achieve this by accepting his holy names. The Maha Mantra is Krishna offering himself to us, offering a relationship with him. If we chant his name without offense, we will revive that relationship. And thus, the Maha Mantra is the greatest gift we could ever receive. Since chanting the holy name reveals our relationship with Krishna, I therefore chant in full awareness that the holy name is my greatest treasure. Without the holy names, our lives would be much different. In Kali Yuga, we fully awaken our love of Krishna through his names. In Kali Yuga, the holy names reveal our relationship with Krishna, our eternal position, our rasa, and our eternal service. Therefore, the holy name is the greatest treasure for ourselves, both ourselves and Krishna. So may everyone have this treasure of holy names in their lives, and may everyone be rich and be enriched and go back to God in this lifetime. So thank you very much for this opportunity for giving this Bhagavatam class. Uh, if there are any comments, any questions, any corrections, or anything, please let me know. And please give your blessings so that I may chant the holy name nicely as what is there in the books. So thank you very much. Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shila Prabhupada ki jai. All Guru Shri Kantaraj.